Fellas, welcome back to another episode of the MK MMA podcast. We are on episode 22 now, believe it or not. Fellas, sorry about, not uploading last week. There was just, there was no UFC on last week. And also, I didn't want to waste any content from these upcoming next weeks for, an empty week last week. So I hope you guys understand for that one. But, we'll be firing back on this week as always, man. We got Fluffy versus Sean Strickland this weekend. And that's just going to be an absolute awesome fight in my opinion. It's just I'm excited to see Sean Strickland get back in the ring, and it's been a while. He hasn't fought since February against DDP when he lost by unanimous decision. It's a big middleweight bout as well, in the number 3 versus the number 4. But yeah, other than that, there's not really much to talk about from the past episodes because of the week break. But we'll just be jumping right into it, and we'll get to that fight card right after we jump into like the UFC Fight Record. So I guess let's just go to the UFC Fight Record. Pop it up right here as usual. Fellas, my apologies. I went 0 for 3 that weekend. And now I'm 26-17. But, we're looking to bounce back this weekend, looking to give you guys some good picks. And, but yeah, 0 for 3 is never a good thing. I always get really shitty when I, am just have an empty weekend. It just sucks because, I should not have gone against Batista. Just a good vet that's very well-rounded and absolutely handed Oliveira. And then, Kyoji. I just didn't think that Kyoji was going to do much from being out of the UFC for so long and then finally having his first UFC fight. I just respect the UFC fighters a lot. And I know Kyoji's one of the best of all time in the flyweights, and he came back and he had a lot of success outside the UFC as well, so I should have not disrespected that, so that's my fault. And then I thought Almeida was going to do it. It's kind of crazy that he got cut. Let me know what you guys think about how Almeida got cut. I think it was deserved. It was just controversial the way he was fighting at the heavyweight level, and then he was talking about dropping down to the light heavyweight, and so then there was really no reason to keep him in there, especially when he was going to talk about dropping back down. But other than that, I thought that fight night was pretty fun. It was good. It was a bunch of great fights, but I'll just give you my 3 picks for this UFC fight night with Sean Strickland and Fluffy, man. But yeah, what I'm going to do, it's going to be Costa. The first one's Danny Gay versus Costa, and I'm going to go with Costa. And then the next one, it's Neal versus Medic. I'm going to go with Medic. And then for this next one, for Sean Strickland and Fluffy, I'm so indecisive about this one. I don't know which one to do. Sean Strickland hasn't fought in almost a year, but his resume speaks for itself for his past 6 fights. It's been awesome. And Anthony Hernandez is just he's right there with him as well. He beat Brendan Allen 2 fights ago, and that was pretty impressive because he just beat RDR as well. And he just picked up he picked up another good win against the number 11 ranked middleweight fighter as well, Roman. So that was huge for him too. So I just don't know who to pick, but I think I'm gonna have to go with Fluffy on this one. I just think because he's very, very, very dominant on the ground. And, he just knows how to finish fights. But I'll get into that when I do the UFC, the UFC Fight Night breakdown. So, but yeah, for the UFC Fight Record, I'm 26-17, trying to go 3-0 this weekend. But we're going to go with Costa, Medic, and then Fluffy. So those are my 3 picks. All money line, as always. Lock them down. The lines are pretty tight this weekend, for those 3 fights at least, besides the Anthony Hernandez versus Sean Strickland. Anthony's minus 260 right now or something, or minus 230. So, I don't focus on lines when it comes to UFC because anything can happen. But yeah, we'll see how that fight goes. I'm really, really excited for it, and it's going to be just a great night overall. All right, cut out the UFC Fight Record. Let's go into the UFC Fight Night breakdown right now and just talk about those 3 fights really quickly. Danny Gay's been around for a while. He's a badass. He'll fight anyone, anytime, anywhere, and we know that obviously from his previous fights. I have a lot of respect for Danny Gay. Very well-rounded fighter as well. 19-10 though. Don't know how he's ranked number 14th in his division, just from his losses, and he's coming off a loss as well. And what is he? Is he 3-2 in his last 5 fights? So 1, 2. No, he's 2-3 in his last 5 fights, so that's not good. But he'll fight anyone, anytime, anywhere. He's not scared from anyone. But I think Costa's just too well rounded. He can finish you on the feet. He can finish you on the ground, and he's proven that a ton. He has 10 first-round finishes off those 16 finishes he has, which is pretty nuts. And this is going to be, Costa's biggest test yet, in my opinion, for, his career. He only has 1 loss in the UFC, and it was his UFC debut, I believe. Let me fact-check myself on that one, and I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it was his UFC debut, and ever since then, he's been on a 5-fight win streak, so that's pretty awesome. And he can finish you on the ground, or on the feet, and I think he would just be too much for Danny Gay to handle. And I just don't think. I think Costa, it's his time. I think he's going to crack into the top 15 and then implement himself in the featherweight division. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. I love Danny Gay. Have a bunch of respect for him. But yeah, let me know if if Danny Gay's like a BMF type fighter as well. I believe so, after when he picked up Diego Lopez on, what was it, like 4 hours notice or something like that, something crazy. But yeah, I think Costa will take this home. He has everything in the tool bag. I think he has to just mix it up, or find which is working better. If he's standing on the feet and he's out dominating him there, then keep it there. But if he's dominating him more on the ground, try to get it to the ground more. So we'll see. Medic and Neal, I'm not too familiar with Medic, but I just know that he's just a finisher. I mean, he has 12 wins, all by finish, 10 wins by knockout, two submissions, and then he has 9 in the first round by finish as well. So this guy knows how to put people away. I know Neal's chin's kind of gone a little bit. He's been knocked out before, and also like stuff to talk about Neal. Like he's 2-3 in his last 5 fights as well, and he's fought in like the biggest and baddest fighters in the welterweight division. In those 3 losses of his last 5 fights, it's Shavkat, Ian Gary, and then Carlos Prates. Like that's insane. But those 2 wins he has though is Dos Anjos and Luque, and those are just guys that are washed. And it's not really impressive to me, and that's why I think Medic is just gonna put his lights out potentially, and honestly just get the job done against Neal. I don't think there's too much for me to expand on that one. I just think Medic is just he's just a finisher, bro. And if the fight's gonna stay on the feet, I think he's just gonna take it home. I think Neal should try to get this to the ground, just to throw him off his game. But I know that's just not how Neal really rolls. He has 10 wins by knockout, 2 by submission of his 16 wins. So I mean, he knows how to finish guys too. But I think Medic will just be too much for him on the feet, and I think Neal's wins are just not that significant. This is also like Medic's biggest test yet as well, and he's wanting to try to crack into that top 15. But I think it's his time, and he's going to do what he has to do to win this fight. But we'll see. He has a couple losses in his 6 fights in the UFC, so he's 4-2 in the UFC. But I think, Neal's kind of on the older side, and I just think that Medic has what it takes, especially if it's going to stay on the feet. He doesn't have the reach advantage, but I think overall, if he just keeps it in his game and controls the middle, I can say all that classic stuff. But yeah, I think he can take it home. All right, now going to Fluffy versus Sean Strickland. I'm so pumped, about the Sean Strickland and Anthony Hernandez fight. It's gonna be awesome. The number 3 versus the number 4. Let me know what your guys' predictions are down below. I going back to the UFC Fight Record, I had no clue who was gonna win this fight, and I was just like, oh man, this is just so tough because I love Sean Strickland so much. And his wins are actually absurd. If I know you guys know all of his wins, but he's lost to DDP twice in his last 3 fights. And it was kind of controversial the first time on that split decision, but I think, ultimately they probably got that decision right. But I mean, he got a split decision win against Paulo Costa. That fight was awesome. He almost knocked out Izzy back in 2023, during pretty much Izzy's prime, towards the end of it. I guess that kind of started him getting out of his prime. But then, he knocked out Abuz Magomedov, and that was a crazy win as well. And then he took the sniper like all the way through and beat him too on a unanimous decision, which is pretty crazy. I know that was back in 2023, but the sniper, he's like, I mean, almost fighting for the belt too, but having that win on his resume is pretty crazy too. Fluffy is definitely a great test for Sean Strickland for his first fight back, especially, going 0 for 2 in his title fights of the last two. So we'll see how that goes. But Fluffy is just really dominant on the ground, but Sean Strickland is very familiar with the ground game. Every time you see him post stuff on social media, it's just him trying to wrestle people. And Sean, I think you gotta respect Sean Strickland's ground game, and he's the one that always talks about how he's the only one that can beat Khamzat. And I know Sean Strickland talks out of his ass a lot, but I mean, Sean Strickland has the build, he has the body to be able to like keep up with Khamzat's strength, I feel like. And Sean Strickland's also just not afraid of anyone. Like he took Izzy on short notice. He like wanted to fight DDP twice, and he took on Paulo Costa after he didn't successfully defend his title the first time against DDP. So I think this is going to be a great fight. What I think Sean needs to do, he definitely needs to like keep this fight on the feet. I think you can't let Fluffy play into his own game. You gotta keep him on the feet. You gotta be working on your takedown defenses in this camp. I hope he has. I will be rooting for Sean Strickland also. Let me know who you guys will be rooting for this weekend. I know I said Fluffy for the fight record, but I'm going to be rooting for Sean still. But, when it comes to picks, making money, I got to go with what my gut says and what the right decision is, obviously. But, yeah, but like Fluffy's game, he needs to try to get him to the ground and keep doing what he's done in his whole UFC career and get his finishes. I mean, Fluffy has 15 wins, 9 of them by submission, 3 by KO. And I think if Fluffy just gets it to the ground and dominates there, the fight's all his, but I think if Sean Strickland, really keeps the fight on the feet and uses his distance and uses that weird, awkward fighting pose that he has with his parrying and everything, I think he can also take it home too. That's why I think it's such a hard decision to make on who's going to win this fight. The thing about Fluffy also, he's fought a lot of like tough guys. He's fighting Kopylov, he's fighting Pereira. He beat Brendan Allen as well, and then he beat Roman on his last fight. I mean, he's been on a tear, and he only has lost one time in his UFC debut, and that was against Kevin Holland back in 2020. So and Kevin Holland can finish anyone too. It just depends like how the fight goes, because Kevin Holland fights like 5 times a year, but he'll go in like 3-2 every single year or something like that. But Fluffy has grown so much since 2020, obviously, and he's been on a 1, 2, 3, 6, way more than that, like an 8-fight win streak since then. So I think Fluffy has what it takes to take maybe not finish Strickland, but go the 5-round distance and get the unanimous decision, just because of how dominant heavy he is on his takedowns and the ground game. But yeah, I really can see Sean Strickland taking this home if the fight stays on the feet. So let me know what you guys think about that. Just drop your predictions. I'm gonna go with Fluffy on that one, but it's gonna be a great fight overall. These two UFC fight nights have been awesome. Like in the main cards have been great, and then the prelims have not been that bad either. So I'm pretty excited overall for this UFC fight night. But yeah, let me know, drop your guys' predictions down below on who you think is going to win for this UFC fight night. I see a really big performance of the night for the Sean Strickland versus Fluffy fight, or fight of the night too. So I'm excited to see how this goes. And yeah, let me know what you guys think about the UFC fight night as a whole, from 0 out of 10, and I can't wait to go from there. It's at the Toyota Center in Houston, so it's gonna be a great one. But yeah, other than that, that's pretty much it, guys. I'm gonna do the MMA pound for pound rankings, pop them up right here. I did go through some digging and change my own stuff. I kind of took some advice from what I was seeing on Twitter, and obviously the UFC fight rankings, the pound for pound rankings as well. I ended up taking Shavkat out of there, unfortunately, just because he's going to be out for so long. I'm trying to keep the pound for pound rankings more fluid. I put Magomed Ankalaev at 14, put him up there Arman, just because, he beat Alex Pereira, didn't successfully, defend it back against Pereira, but I mean, it's Alex Pereira, god damn it. So you got to respect that there. So that's why I bumped him up to 14. Looking forward to seeing him back in the ring hopefully soon, hopefully this summer, and get something going there. And then, I bumped up Max Holloway to 10. I put him over Josh Van and JDM and DDP just because, Max Holloway's been on a tear. I was just looking on his resume too, and he's just been doing great, defending the BMF belt, fighting the baddest guys. I know, and then honestly doing a really good fight against Ilya until he got knocked out for the first time there. But overall, I think him at 10 is pretty respectful for obviously how well he did in the featherweight division, and then also being highly ranked in the, going up a division now in the lightweight division. So I got to respect that, and that's why I bumped him up there. So yeah, that's what I got. That's all I got for the MMA pound for pound rankings. But fellas, thank you so much for tuning in, man. And sorry for this being such a short episode. But yeah, it was just kind of tough, having an empty week last week with no UFC and nothing to talk about in the previous. But I hope you guys like this episode, like this quick episode as well. Let me know if you guys like the longer or quicker episodes, just for the engagement wise, or if you like me to get straight to the point rather than just rambling for so long. I'm going to try to get some of my buddies back on here soon. I know I've been saying that the past couple episodes, but just with work and everything, it's a little bit difficult. So just let me know what you guys think. I hope you guys liked episode 22. Rate this fight night, out of 10 in the comment section, and can't wait for the next one. We got Charles Oliveira versus Max Holloway coming up very, very soon. I am so ecstatic for that. But yeah, anyways, fellas, that is all I got. Thank you for all the love and support as always, and being so nice to me in the comment section, on social medias and all the platforms. So I really appreciate it, guys. I love you all. Just make sure to like and subscribe, ring that damn bell, hit the comment section, tune in with me. I love interacting with you guys. But other than that, that's all I got for y'all. But hope you have a good week. Enjoy the Saturday. Enjoy the week as a whole. And can't wait to see you on episode 23. Thank you, fellas.